Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Together, Jake and his friends interview talents varying from actors, directors, writers, producers, composers, puppeteers, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. I am one of your co-hosts, Matt Bingel, along with my other co-hosts, Chris Bixby and Wyatt McCullough, and our host, Jake Deffinbaugh. How you doing?
Doing
Great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I'm excited for this one.
I am as well.
Yes, me too.
Matt, who we got today?
I'm glad you asked, Wyatt. It's a wonderful kind of day today. We're excited about this one. He is known as the voice of Buster on Arthur for all those years. Premiered all the way back in 1996 and sadly ended earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Among many other stuff he's done. Please welcome Mr. Daniel Brochu. Daniel, happy to have you here. Welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Happy to have you.
Nice. Happy to have you on.
Very happy to
How are you?
How are you doing?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. We had a pretty good eventful summer, and kids are back at school, and everything's kind of winding down a bit. But fall is my favorite season, so I love autumn. So I'm doing well.
Now we know who you are, but for those who don't know, would you care to introduce yourself?
Sure. If people don't know who I am, they know who this guy is.
Oh my God.
I'm Buster, all the way from Elwood City. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
Hey, Buster.
Hey, Buster.
Hi guys,
Buster.
how are you?
We're very good.
Doing
Doing
great.
great. Doing great.
That's
him.
awesome.
That's my little buddy.
Yes,
For sure.
definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you talk
feels
about
like
your
he feels like a well-worn friend after all these years. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got a Buster as well.
Hey, I got one of those.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Anyway,
That
can
point.
you talk about your background and how you grew up?
Sure. I grew up in Montreal,
Oh, wow.
Canada. I grew up in an area called Point St. Charles, which was in the 70s. Yes, the 1970s. It was a pretty rough place. It was very poor. Like Buster, I grew up in a single parent family, but my mom was not a journalist by any means. So I grew up pretty poor in Point St. Charles. I got kind of bounced around between relatives. My aunt and uncle would take care of me in the summer times because my mom was and is still handicapped. And my grandmother would take care of me during the school year. And then my aunt and uncle would take me for the summer times. And I would just be outside of Montreal for the summers, hanging out with my cousins. And then I went to theater school on a whim and did 3 years of theater school right after high school. And then that's where I met, there was a theater teacher that I had in theater school, and his wife was a voice director.
Yeah.
And she took a couple of the kids from each class and she brought them into the studio to kind of teach them how to work the dubbing band. I don't know if you guys know about the band of dubbing, but when you're dubbing cartoons, there's a band which has all the lines and all the illustrations and everything above it that you have to learn how to work so you can dub cartoons and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And so she took a couple of us in to do a little workshop, and I was a natural. So she actually cast me in my first voice role, a cartoon called Little Flying Bears.
Oh, wow.
And since then, I got known around the community as the adult who can do kids' voices. So I was pretty much in high demand for a while there. And maybe, who knows, still am. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So, now on the subject of like getting into, things, can you talk a bit more about how you kind of got into acting and voice acting?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so
Definitely.
I used to sing as a child.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I got discovered that I had a good singing voice, and so I had a music teacher in elementary school who put me in the church choir and all that kind of thing. And so when I got to high school, I ended up auditioning for the school plays, which were things like Guys and Dolls and Oliver Twist. And so for the last 3 years of high school, I did school plays in high school. Those little rinky-dinky high school productions, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I graduated high school, I wanted to be a writer. And I hadn't applied to any college courses. And I remember phoning in college here in Montreal, and I was like, you know, I think it was August, like school was about to begin. And I was like, is there a way I can take a creative arts program and become a writer, but also act in plays? And they're like, not really. If you want to act in plays, you got to join the professional theater program. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? And they said, well, you have to make an appointment and you have to audition and put some pieces together. I was like, okay. So I kind of did that, and I did it kind of late. I auditioned for the faculty, I think, second week of August. And I did my 2 monologues and a song and got accepted to the acting program. And that was kind of a surprise. So, I mean, I did want to be an actor, but I never thought I would be able to sustain it as a livelihood. So I had all these other things in the back of my mind, like, okay, I'll do 3 years of theater school, and then I'll just kind of move on to something else, you know? But so I did my 3 years of theater school, and that's when I met some teachers and stuff that worked in the professional world. And then they brought me into the professional world. And I just, you know, at the beginning, when I graduated when I was 21.
Oh, wow.
And so I started working right away in the world of theater. And like I said, one of my teachers, his wives did a lot of dubbing of cartoons. And so she hired me a lot at the beginning, and I got to be known as the guy who did kids' voices.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't very big thing for people to want to work with children. So they'd prefer to have a professional older actor who could sound young.
Yeah.
And so I ended up working a lot in those first few years, and I just auditioned for stuff like Arthur. I had no idea. Like, I just auditioned for Arthur out of the blue. It was like a random project that I just kind of fell into my lap. I had no idea it was going to be like the rest of my life, you know, being associated with the show, which is great. But it's one of the longest standing jobs I've ever had.
Yeah. Sure.
Nice.
Getting into acting and voice acting, who were some of your inspirations?
Well, I was later on. I mean, I was a huge fan of Mel Blanc from
Nice.
World.
Awesome.
I saw early footage of him recording all the characters at once, like by himself in studio, and I was like, oh my god, like who the hell is this guy? He was like, he's crazy talented. And you know, I had a mentor when I got into the voice world here in Montreal. He taught me everything I knew. His name was Tim Reed. He kind of like mentored all of the people now who are working and directing and writing in the cartoon world.
Yeah.
And he passed away on my 29th birthday. And but he was a huge influence because he's the one who cast me in a lot of early stuff, and I got my chops working on cartoons because of him. And and so I would say there was a bunch of people over the years, but I think those 2 guys were the best.
There you go. That's awesome.
Nice. So you know, with Buster Baxter, how did you land that role?
Yeah, how did that come about?
That was pretty funny, actually, because I remember the way I remember it. It's probably not the true story, but the way I remember it, the way I've romanticized it over the years, is I lived in an area of Montreal called the Plateau in my 20s, and you know, I was just a young guy living by myself, and I remember getting my mail at the local store, and I believe it was like a Saturday, and it was I remember it was laundry day. I was doing my laundry, so I was literally wearing my pajamas.
Oh wow!
And
Wow.
I walked out of my house to walk like the block and a half to go pick up my mail. And it just so happened that one of the casting directors of Cinar at that time, his name was Andy Grin, he lived around the corner from me. And so while I was walking to the store to pick up my mail, he saw me, and he knew me from auditions from the past auditions, and he was like, "Hey, listen, I have this project called Arthur. Then they're trying to cast young voices. Wondering if you want to like audition for it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "Well, come into my house, and my kitchen. Here's a script." And we did it in his house. He had one of those cassette recorders with the you press the record and play button. Yeah. And so we went into his kitchen. I read the script and city, and here's the character. He's kind of like, he's got a lot of spirit. It's Buster. He's a rabbit, and give it a go. And so I auditioned and with my normal voice, and he was like, "No, it's got to be higher. It's got to be higher. You got to go high." And I was like, "But like, I can't go higher than this." He's like, "Try your falsetto. Try your falsetto." So I was like, "Okay, I'm going to try it like this. I'm going to go all the way up here." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy. This is unsustainable. I can't do this." So anyway, I put something down, and he obviously sent the cassette to PBS. Yeah. And even without a callback or anything, I got cast. And wow. I was like, "Okay, that's awesome." Wow. And yeah, and it's turned into this juggernaut of pop culture, which is crazy. Yes. 25 30 years later, it's insane.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. What was it like working with all the other voice actors for the first time?
It was great. I remember we used to record it differently back at the beginning. It was all of us in a room. We were, a lot younger then. Yeah. But we were all in a room together at a studio called Cinar, and on one side of the glass in the recording booth was us, and we were all standing in a circle at musical stands. It was the 5 leads. So there was me, Muffy, Francine, Binky, and Arthur, and DW. So 6 of us. Sometimes Brain would come in if he was in an episode or whatever, and and we recorded all together, which was great because we haven't done that in a very long time. And the director and the producers were on the other side of the glass, and they were able to talk to you, right after takes and stuff. And so we all got to hang out. It was like every second Tuesday or second Wednesday we'd go in, and we'd do it all together. It was like a play reading, it was really nice. Yeah. It was one. I still work. I'm still friends with most of the cast. Like I still see Michael Yarmish on occasion because he works at Ubisoft. Oh wow! He's the guy who puts the for motion capture, for facial motion capture. He's the guy who puts your helmet on and puts the dots on your face to make sure everything's being read. Oh wow! And,
wow!
The guy who plays Binky and Dad. He's a buddy of mine since 1991. Bruce Dinsmore, we've done shows together, and he came to see me in a show. I went to go see him in a show just this past summer in Hudson. And Jody's a friend of mine. Arthur Holden has been a long-standing friend of mine. Had him over to my house for dinner. So, I mean, Montreal's a pretty small acting community. So I kind of grown up with everyone. So I know them quite well.
Yeah, every voice actor that was on it, which is amazing.
Yeah. And how are you guys? Awesome. Everyone's good there? Everyone had a good summer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
we're doing great. Yeah. We are doing great out here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was actually my birthday not too long ago.
Hey, happy belated, mister.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then do you have any favorite episodes of Arthur that you've done with Buster?
I do. I have a bunch of episodes that I like. I think my favorite one is probably the one from the penultimate season, being the one where Mr. Rapper gets married.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Very good episode.
I think I love that episode so much just because of what it came from, like what we weren't allowed to do 15 years before. Yeah. What we couldn't get away with. Because when I did the spin-off Postcards from Buster all those years ago, we had an episode that ruffled some feathers when it was about a same-sex
I heard about that.
Yeah.
And so PBS coming full circle and releasing an episode or writing an episode regarding one of its main characters getting married to a same-sex partner, I thought was very brave and and courageous, and I'm very proud of them for that. And I'm actually very proud of the episode. It's a great thing for kids to see that.
It is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of amazing episodes, like the season 1 episode, Buster's New Friend, which I remember the most.
Oh yeah.
That was
well, and all those, for me too, all those episodes. I went traveling for a year to Australia. And the show followed me, which was great. It's a testament to their loyalty. But all those episodes that they wrote when Buster was away, and how he's gonna reconnect with his friends and family back home. I thought a lot of those episodes were really heartwarming and endearing too.
They are.
Yeah. On that subject, one of my favorite episodes, which I actually rewatched earlier, is the Ballad of Buster Baxter.
Yeah.
That episode's really funny.
Yes. Great.
With Art Garfunkel,
Art Garfunkel, yes indeed.
And there was an episode, like, we're in the process of recording podcasts now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's right. That's
awesome.
right.
That's cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I think he froze again.
Point.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that too.
Am I frozen?
Now you're good.
Okay.
You're good now.
That's just spotty.
No worries.
Yeah, and the episodes where what was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. My Wi-Fi froze and my brain froze.
The episodes where Buster was away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we're recording podcasts now for the website that are based on old episodes.
Wow.
Just instead of the video
awesome.
version, you'll just get the audio. But I'm reminded, like, I was reading it, and there was an episode where it was just so timely, because I have teenage kids now. Like, I have teenage boys, and there was an episode about how to talk to your parents or something, or how to exist in a family as a family unit. And I was like, oh my God, man, like, Arthur still works. Like, I was reading the episode going, this even works as me being a father and having of teenage boys and having a family of my own. Like, reading the episode going, yeah, that this is true to life, man. Kids, like, I wanted my teenage boy to read it or to watch it, because it was good advice for all of us, not just for 8 and 9-year-old kids, but for families in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And speaking of episodes, before you did this interview, I actually watched some Arthur episodes and postcards from Buster episodes, and like some Arthur episodes that come out to watch, and Arthur's Eyes, Arthur's Sleepover, and watching.
Those are all really good.
Amazing episodes. There's so many to go.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna keep going on and on and on.
There's also the one DW episode where I remember it's the one Buster's in. DW the Picky Eater, I remember the most.
That's a classic.
And I had that on VHS.
It's a classic.
I remember one too about a blue chip or something. DW and Binky are fighting over a blue chip.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
There's so much to mine. There's like 25 years of material.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now there are also a lot of Arthur songs, like the songs from the music festival episode and from the soundtracks. Do you have a favorite song from Arthur?
Yeah, of course. My favorite song is off one of the CDs. I don't think it ever made it onto one of the episodes. It's not a Christmas CD. It was, I think, our first CD, and it's called what is it called? The UFO song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's so great. It's so fun.
I think I have the soundtrack somewhere, actually.
Yeah, there's also a really fun song I liked to listen to, or liked to have listened to back in the past. It was called My Brain, and it's a Buster song on that. I think it's on that first CD.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, they're really fun songs.
So many amazing songs. Like
That's
Crazy
awesome.
Bus as well.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs I remember listening to so much as a kid while I was in elementary school, the Library Card Song.
Oh yes.
Amazing song.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. You just want to start some controversy. You just want to be controversial.
Yeah, you do.
One of the songs I was always fascinated by was Jekyll and Hyde, the one that Brain sings.
When the brain sings, yeah.
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 I mean, that was really hard for him to do. He was super young, and I don't think he was a singer at all. So I remember he had a rough time. And you know, but truth be told, that's so funny. I would talk about my mentors. My mentor being Tim Reed. The original voice of Brain was Tim Reed's son, Luke Reed.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he voiced the original
Awesome.
Brain.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. So, in addition to the episodes, Arthur had a few different specials. Do you have a favorite special that you guys did?
I think I like the Christmas special because it's so innocent and-
Arthur's Perfect Christmas.
Love that one.
Just how everyone celebrates Christmas and how it's different from other people, and
Yes.
you know, we can all still get along even though we celebrate Christmas differently.
Yeah,
I thought that was cute.
Oh yeah, amazing. One of my another specials I remember of her, but you know, it's only Rock and Roll with the Backstreet Boys was a part of that.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But I know
Yeah.
you recently interviewed with DJ Bob, and
Yeah.
I know he loves that episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good friend of
He's a
ours.
big
He's a good
Backstreet
friend of
Boys
ours.
Yeah, he helped us
Great.
with the podcast.
Great friend of
Yeah.
ours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
great
good
friend of
guy. We had a good interview. He's a really great
Yes,
guy.
I watched that interview like
Same.
before we did the interview too, which is amazing. One part I just really loved when you guys talking, you know, during in his interview and all. The fact that, you know, you guys like talking about the diversity and the conclusion of the show part, because we need those type of shows like that nowadays, and I love where we have those shows like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
It
nice.
has like that as for Sesame Street as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was telling that to DJ Bob too. I was saying, you know, at the time, it didn't really seem like there were a lot of shows out there doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
Having shows teaching kids that their uniqueness and whatever makes them unique is not something to be ashamed of. You know, it's actually something to be touted and revered. And so teaching kids that when they're young is the most important gift you can give them, you know? And I think Arthur was really good at telling kids that it's okay to be different. You could be different. You could think differently. It's fine. You'll still make friends and you'll still make it in the world, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what the whole show was based on, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole thing about believe in yourself and diversity, multiculturalism. It was always about that from the beginning, and it never lost sight of that. It's still that, which is great.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and especially, you know, where Bob, you know, mentioned in your episode where, you know, the first like years he didn't really telling about his disability, but he keeps on doing that because, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because after when
All
you
the
start
support.
doing that, all the support he has, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, just be honest what you love and what you want to talk about.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jake, why don't you ask the next question?
Yeah, Jake, it's your turn.
Yeah, Jake, it's your turn, man.
First time somebody's ever done that. Congrats.
There you go.
You don't want to be yelled at by Buster. It's not a pretty sight.
That'd be funny though.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Yeah. So who are some of your favorite celebrity guests that have been on the show?
Well, I only really got to meet one. I got to meet Mr. Rogers.
Yes!
I was about to
yeah.
mention that
That
later
episode's
on.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was telling Bob as well. I had no idea I was meeting him that day.
Yes.
Usually all the guest performers like Yo-Yo Ma and Backstreet Boys and stuff, they were all recorded like elsewhere.
Yeah.
But you know,
even did their own version of the Arthur theme song too.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I know.
Yeah.
Amazing.
yeah, so great. But you know, lo and
Oh, yeah.
behold, I show up to work one day in Montreal studio, open the elevator door opens, and there's friggin' Mr.
And there he
Rogers
is.
Yeah.
I know.
getting changed into his
Unbelievable.
cardigan, his work cardigan, and his work shoes. And it was great. It was just
My
me,
neighbor.
Yarmush, and Fred Rogers recording together.
Mhm.
And,
Welcome to Arthur meets Mr. Rogers episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he's exactly in real life what he was on the show. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah.
lying about that guy. I was like, I remember I was young. I was like 25 or 26. I don't know how old I was, but I was just like, what's going on here? Like, is this guy hiding something? What is happening?
Yeah.
You can't be like that. But he was so genuine and so lovely. and it was a pleasure to meet him. I remember we had a good time.
Yeah, Jack Perlesky, I know, was also on the show, and that was a good episode.
Yeah.
Who, Jeff? I don't know who that is.
Poet.
Who's Jeff?
I don't either. You're the only one.
All right.
He's asking who you're talking about, Wyatt.
Jack Perlesky, he's actually a poet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, because there was an episode with Fern the poetry thing, and
Yeah.
Oh,
that
yes.
episode.
I remember.
Yes.
Yes, I remember now. That's true. That's true.
Yes.
Yes.
I forgot about that one too, honestly.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, like, he's always, a great person in and out of the show. Whenever way he comes for a visit, just to do record stuff for Arthur, he always
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah,
Rogers,
no, great. Yeah.
And that's why I love the most.
Yeah.
About him.
He was
Yeah.
awesome. Rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's been a lot over the years. I don't know if anyone's counted how many guest appearances, but I've certainly lost count. But I think there's been a lot of little guests in our shows.
Yeah.
Art Garfunkel, that was a nice
Right,
one.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't get to meet him, but him lending his voice to the cartoon, that kind of, that was iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So you voiced Buster for many years, but which Arthur character would you say that you're most like?
Believe it or not, I'm probably most like Buster.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know how that's worked over the years, if they've kind of molded the character to me, or if I've just kind of become him. I don't know. Even my wife was saying the other day, I showed her a picture. Actually, it's my headshot picture, and she said, "Oh my God, you actually look like, but you're starting to look like Buster." And I was like, "Whoa now." Whoa. But we do have a lot in common. We're single parent families. I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and so I believe in aliens and all that stuff. I'm asthmatic. Buster has asthma. I have asthma. I'm usually the one telling jokes at parties and eating too much.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I get that.
There you go.
we have a lot in common.
Yes.
Yeah.
And over the years, probably, developing into the dad character a little too, trying to be the understanding dad. But I think it's a cross between Buster and Dad, man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also gonna add this part out, but most likely next year we're probably gonna interview Mark Brown.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, and also,
that.
can we
I'm
get
very
the
excited
shout
about
out
it.
out of the way? We actually have a shout out. We I don't know if you're up for it. Since we're editing stuff out. Can you say hi to Alex? He's one of our friends. He's a fan of Buster and the Buster voice.
Sure. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Yeah.
Sorry you're not here today, Alex. Do you have like a job or something? What's going on?
That was amazing. We have that for now.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you, as always.
So,
No worries.
So is there an Arthur character that didn't get used much in the show that you wish we would have seen more of?
I was always a big fan of the Bionic Bunny spinoff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would have liked Bionic Bunny to have more stuff. I mean, he did have a lot of stuff over the years, but I thought he was a good character. I don't know what else. I mean, PBS was pretty good about introducing characters and really fleshing them out. I don't think they really left anyone by the wayside. But Bionic Bunny was cool. Who else? I can't really think of anyone else.
The Tibble twins were also cool.
Tibble twins were cool. I even liked that they gave personalities to the animals at one point. Weren't there a couple of episodes where Pal and the cat?
Yeah.
Talked, like you can hear their thoughts and stuff.
That's right. Yeah. I always love those little bits with them.
Yeah, Kate. You heard Kate's voice for the first time, and
right
along with Pal's voice. I thought that was interesting, getting into the inner thoughts of the characters that don't speak on the show. That was always cool.
Yeah. Definitely. So Matt, why don't you ask the next question?
Certainly. So over its 25-year run, Arthur won several awards. Now, how's it feel that it's become such a huge success throughout its long run?
Surprised and not surprised. I mean, I surprised at the beginning because we had no idea what we had.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's no way. There's nothing where people think, "Oh, we're gonna go this for the next 25 years." No one think of that at all.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. It wasn't on anyone's horizon.
No.
It wasn't until after it aired, and I think by then we'd already recorded 2 or 3 seasons, you know?
Yeah.
So we were just going into the studio and doing this thing. There was a job, and I was like always loving the writing. The writing was always top notch. But it wasn't until it came on TV that everyone was and people started watching it, and we're like, oh my God, yeah, this is something. It's really got a lot of traction. So yeah, I had no idea. And then it started winning awards and becoming this thing. Yeah. I remember once in studio, like they brought in a list from, what was it, from the Washington Post or something, had done this article on the magic of Arthur, and it listed its favorite characters and stuff. And I remember Buster was up there, and they're like, oh, Buster's a really popular character. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Awesome. Yeah. And then when it started, I kind of knew that it started becoming like kind of bleeding into the public conscious, because, you know, I was getting phone calls from friends' kids who had kids at the time, and they were saying, my kid loves Arthur. Can you phone for his birthday party and leave a birthday message? So that's when I started clicking into, okay, this is something that people are watching it, and they're actually quite blown away by knowing that, you know, you do the voice of this cartoon that you had. Like, I had no idea. I thought it was just going to be one of those things that kind of came and went, you know. But
loving them, you know, and it's really changed lives, you know, for them knowing what Buster did for the show and what kids you know, think about him.
Yeah, exactly. It's been so good, and I'm so proud of it too, because exactly for that, you know, it's not famous for bad stuff. It's famous for doing its job well, and for talking to children in a non-derogatory way, and for you know, hitting some good lessons. And you know, and I always said that the thing that I think that set Arthur apart was it wasn't just kids watching it. Kids were watching it with their parents. Yeah. And the parents were enjoying it too. So just for as many kids who would come up to me and tell me that they enjoyed the show, I had just as many adults telling me that they enjoyed it and they watched it with their kids because it taught good lessons.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely. Adults, you know, love the show too. It's just want their kid to watch it too. It's just that's how amazing the show was.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then my own kids didn't want to watch it, so I was like, really? It's like I got this great thing at my fingertips, and I can't even use it against my own kids. They won't watch it. They're like, no, we're too close. It's like, my dad does the voice of Buster. I don't need to watch it. It's like, they're too cool.
Yeah. So we talked a bit earlier about, you know, diversity. So as a show with a very diverse group of characters, how important do you think having a series with diversity and representation is in today's world?
Oh, I think it's the most important. I think everyone should be able to see themselves represented on screen in some way, even albeit through a cartoon. It's still nice to hear different voices and to have different angles on different things, like that Christmas episode we talked about. I don't know of any other show really who does a Christmas special episode on the diversity of what Christmas means to different people.
Right.
So it's always been the most important thing, you know, and it's the thing I'm most proud of, because obviously now it's within a lot more than it was 25 years ago. It's part of the dialogue that we're all having about acceptance and multiculturalism and diversity, and seeing that on screen and teaching our children what it means to have same-sex marriage couples, and you know, maybe a brother who identifies as something else than what he is or she is, you know. So I think it's important, super important for especially kids nowadays to know that, you know, there's this whole treasure trove of stuff that they can go back to, and because it's just all about acceptance, right? I don't think any kid should feel not accepted. And so it was really important for the show is really important to help kids realize that it doesn't matter how they sound or what they look like, they still have a chance to be accepted. And it all comes from just having confidence. They need, and Arthur taught a lot of kids to have confidence, which is great.
That's
Yeah.
the reason why inclusion part was there for the show, you know.
Yeah.
And it makes
Oh,
you know,
Definitely.
for the diversity and what the show's all about, it makes the world a better place. Because I know some people can see that too. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
show really learns to them.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I love that so much.
And it's amazing. It's just so amazing. So in 2004, Buster got his own spin-off series called Postcards from Buster. What was it like working on that?
That was insane.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
It was a very busy time for me. We were recording Arthur episodes in the morning, and then we'd have lunch, and I'd come back and record Buster episodes in another in the same building but a different studio. So it was, and then we'd sing songs at the end of the day. And we would do that 2 days every week.
Mhm.
So it was like one day was Arthur, and then we do 2 episodes of Buster, and then come back the next day and do 2 episodes of Buster, 2 more episodes of Buster, and then sing song. It was like I was going to work. I was happy. I was working on something that was vibrant and cool.
Yeah.
You know, I lost my voice a couple of times because, you know, the voice is kind of hard to sustain because it's so high.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I loved it. And, you know, and in between I'd have to do research because with Postcards, I had cassettes to watch, and it was all about timing because it was half live action. So for the live action parts, I had to time all my lines.
Yeah, because
And
the kids is going to record there first, and then you.
Exactly.
Right.
And so in studio, we'd have the recording playing, and I'd have to record my voice on top of the guide track, and so it'd all have to be timed and stuff. So it took a while, but it was the same team. It was the same team of people. We had the same directing and producing team, and we just really got to know each other. You know, I think it was then that PBS and the Arthur team started to realize how not to toot my own horn, but how great my work ethic was.
Yeah.
I still to this day, my work ethic, like if I'm at work, I'm loyal, like I'm loyal to that job, and I'll give 100% every time, you know? And so that's when they started discovering, okay, Danny's pretty serious. You know, he doesn't just let things go. If I felt like I needed to do another take because I wasn't happy, I'd ask for it. And we had a really good time. We became a close knit team during that time. I remember it was really special.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's crazy that on the part, you know, where you think about, you know, taking like part you want to take a year off, and then you just want to go to Australia, and then, you know, then Postcards, you know, jump to your mind, and then boom, that happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had 4 seasons too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was great. And, you know, I always, that's why I always tell people, especially young and upcoming actors, they're like, you know, I'm really busy, but I need a break. Do I take time off? And I'm like, you know what? Always go for the time off, because you need to recharge your batteries. You can always come back. The work will always be there. And, you know, I by taking that time off, I actually, in hindsight, created work for myself. Wow. You know, so I got the best of both worlds, because I was able to take a year off because I needed it. But then taking that year off actually in turn turned out to be the idea that set Postcards from Buster in motion.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, you always have to be like Arthur says, man, you always got to be true to yourself. You can't, you can't lie. You gotta be true. You gotta tell your own truth, whatever that is.
Definitely.
Yes. Sure.
Definitely. So, do you have a favorite episode, or I guess location, that Buster traveled to in the show?
Yeah, I mean Peru. I can't remember the Peru episode, but I think we did a bunch of. I remember talking with DJ Bob too. We did a bunch of international episodes that I don't know if they saw the light of day or not. But I just recently came back from Peru. I did some work in Peru.
Oh, wow.
And
Awesome.
It's a beautiful country. And I remember when Buster went there. I can't remember what the episode was about, but I remember that was interesting when Buster started traveling the world as opposed to just the States. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So do you have any Buster or Arthur memorabilia from over the years that you want to show?
I could show it. I have it. The thing is, I can't show it because I'm not allowed upstairs at this point into my closet. because my wife is not feeling well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I could describe it to you really well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Tell us what you have.
Yeah.
That works.
What do you have from Arthur?
I have a doll. Like I don't know who it was. Was it Chris who had the doll?
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah,
had
it was Chris.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I have a doll exactly like that, but it's signed by Mark Brown underneath the
Oh,
foot.
wow.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, I have that. I also have this great T-shirt. It's an oversized T-shirt, but Greg Bailey, the director, when we had our wrap party, gave this gift to me. He had a T-shirt where he hand painted Buster's face on it.
Oh, is it a picture where you did with Bob that you showed the shirt? Yeah, that's what it is.
Exactly. So that's hand painted.
Yeah.
Like if you can,
Great
it's
shirt.
actually tactile. You can actually feel it's paint on cloth.
Mhm.
And he painted that and brought it into studio one day, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." Never saying that he was going to give it to me. I thought he said it was for an auction. They were going to try to auction it off, I think, for charity. And then at the cast party, he had everyone sign it, and they gave it to me.
Oh, that's
Hey.
awesome.
So I have
amazing.
that.
Love that.
I have that in my closet. And what else?
I just love where the cast and crew, the Arthur just supports each other and
Yeah.
signing to each other, and
Mhm.
there you go.
Yeah, we got one of those signals, when you're driving down the highway and all the bikers, they have that little signal that they give each other.
Yeah.
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 You ever seen bikers when they pass each other on the highway, they do this kind of signal on the side of their hand?
Yeah.
That's what the Arthur cast has over the years. We have this like little signal every time we see each other. We give
Oh,
a
wow.
little silent signal going, "Yeah, you're part of the sister and brotherhood, man."
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's amazing. So, in addition to Arthur, you've lent your voice to some other series, like What's with Andy,
Yeah.
Sagwa, and Franny's Feet. Not named for a title, but okay. What was it like working on those?
They were good. I have certain memories from every cartoon. There's been so many. Like there was also all the dubbing series as well over the years, like thousands and thousands of stuff drawn in different countries that was dubbed into English. So there's been a lot of stuff. But yeah, What's with Andy, that was super fun. That was a show from Vancouver, and that was a voice match. I think they did one season with another cast, and then I came in and did a voice match of the character, and my voice was pretty similar, so I got cast in that. And there was like another one called The Tofus, which lasted for a while, and
Oh, wow.
so many cartoons. Like I actually got my chops on like old Japanimation cartoons, dubbing those into English. Like they did a whole 26 half-hour episodes of Huckleberry Finn, and like really like from the 80s or 70s, like all
Wow.
and all that stuff. And I got to work on another series called Tom Sawyer, where I got to play Tom Sawyer, and my son, this is a few years ago, but my son got to voice my brother, Tom Sawyer's brother.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of
Wow.
fun, going into studio with my son, and my wife had a voice in it too. So we were all kind of like going into work together, which was kind of fun, working on the same cartoon.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that's never seen the light of day, or maybe seen the light of day in different countries that we've never seen in North America. And then once in a while, very rarely, you happen on a show like Arthur that is known around the world.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
Right. So
Mhm.
now, your voice was also featured as one of the Kayet singers on the series Caillou.
Yeah.
What was it like working on that? And do you have a favorite song you sang? And there were a lot.
There were a lot. I can't even remember any of the songs from Caillou. I was never a lead singer on that. I was hired as one of the backup guys.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mm.
So it was like me and two other people who come into studio and just lay down different tracks on different songs, like harmonies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah,
voice
so-
wasn't the voice of Fern also one of them as well on Arthur. I think the voice of Fern. Yeah,
Most probably. Who is that? What's her name? Tammy? Is it Tammy? Her name is
it's Holly.
Holly Frankel.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Holly Frankel, she's a good friend of mine too. She was probably on Caillou. I can't remember, but she's a fantastic singer and songwriter. And so there was a musical director back in the day. His name was Jeff Zahn, and he took the people from Montreal who could sing, like Bruce Dinsmore and Holly Frankel and Jodie Rester. She has a fantastic singing voice. And myself, and he'd always put us together in a room to finish up songs and to put harmonies and stuff on. He was super fun to work with. But yeah, so whoever had a singing voice in Montreal most likely ended up on Caillou or one of those cartoons sooner or later.
Yeah.
I remember watching that show a lot.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a show for me. Well, a couple of my favorite songs I remember, the songs in a couple of seasons. I don't know if it was one of them that was about summer, and then the other one was like, "You do it," da, 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 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
You probably have a better memory than I do.
Before I do ask the next question, would you want to come back on the show in the future? Maybe we could have more Arthur cast members with you.
Sure, that would be awesome. We could do like a little group session.
We do a reunion.
Yeah.
So
That'd be fun.
Yeah, as an actor and voice actor, what challenges would you say you faced during your career?
I was pretty lucky, like I kind of cornered the market. It's less so now. I'm hoping kind of now to get more into the dubbing, directing of dubbing and video games and stuff.
Cool.
But challenges, I mean, it's always the same challenges, at the beginning it's auditioning and getting the role and then having to sustain the voice, always making sure that, like, if I gave advice to any young voice actors out there, I'd always say, it's not about doing the voice that is the most different than your own. That's not the success part of it. It's being able to sustain it. Like if you can be the kind of voice actor who can sound very, very different, have like a library of 10 characters that you have in your repertoire that you can do easily. Because if you do get a series like Arthur, and let's say you're the voice that you've chosen or get hired to do is a super difficult voice, you have to be able to sustain it. Otherwise it's not professional. So if you're asked to work for 2 hours, you have to sustain the voice for 2 hours. So if you're doing a voice like this, you probably speak for 15 minutes and you're done. You know what I mean? It's like, sorry.
Oh, your voice.
Sorry,
Oh,
no
God.
Yeah. So you have to make sure that
this was so long.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, especially with video games, like video game stuff, there's lots of screaming and yelling and shouting. Yeah. And so they try to save those things until the end of the day so it doesn't blow out your voice. But, it's challenging because, one day, let's say on a Tuesday, you're recording a video game for Assassin's Creed or Far Cry or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're screaming your ass off for an hour and a half. Yeah. And then the next day, you're going in to record a voice like Buster. Yeah. And so, you gotta be really careful. But now, there's a lot of up and coming kids out of theater school who are really good and have really unique, great sounding voices, and they're really versatile, So I'm looking forward to maybe the next chapter of my life, directing some of these kids in cartoons and guiding them and maybe becoming a mentor for them, like Tim was for me when I was a kid, teaching them the ropes, because it seems like a lot of kids, they're really interested in doing voice work because it's not only lucrative, but it's super fun. Like it's a great way to spend a living. It's amazing. And so I don't know if I had super amounts of challenges. I was lucky because when I got out of theater school, like I said, I was one of the adults, maybe a handful in Montreal of 5 to 7 people who were adults who could do kid voices. Yeah. So I worked a lot, I was very lucky.
There you go.
Wow.
Now there's a bigger pool of kids who can do young voices and adults who can do young voices. So, it's nice to see some of the work kind of being shared, and it's not just the same people dubbing the same kind of voices all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm going into studio and I'm meeting new people, even after having been in the business for 30 years, I'm going into studio and saying, oh, you're a new person, or someone I've worked with in theater, now trying the voice world and seeing them in studio and, taking the dubbing track or the voice track, which is great,
Nice.
Yeah. And as also, for doing the Buster voice for so much, I know your voice can be difficult to do the voice so much, like again and again until you get it right.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I was doing it later on in years. Like I started in my what was it, 94 or something. So I was in my 20s, and then having sustained the voice as you get older, which is interesting because I use my voice for a lot of things, and so having to revisit Buster every year or two was a challenge just because your voice as an instrument gets older as you age.
Yeah.
And so, having to sound the same as I did when I was 23, when I was 33 and 43, and now I'm in my 50s and I'm having to go into studio and sound like Buster. It's a bit of a challenge, but it's I remember going into studio like 10 years ago, and I was older, and the director was like, "Ooh, Buster's sounding a little bitter." And it wasn't the voice, it was just my attitude, and I realized, oh my God, it's true. Like Buster's attitude never changed. He's still just the 8-year-old kid with a fun viewpoint on life. Yeah, he's full of love, and he doesn't have the stuff in his life that me as a 50-year-old man has. So the director had to remind me, no, you got to remember, he's not a 50-year-old bitter old guy. He's like a young
he's like a hyper character.
He's a hyper character. He loves everybody. I was like, you're right. It's not so sometimes it's not only the voice you have to worry about, it's sometimes the attitude towards what you're doing. You have to remember you have to remember the innocence. You may not be innocent anymore, but the innocence is still has to come through in your voice.
There you go.
Yeah. So what piece of advice would you give to anyone who wants to get into acting and voice acting?
I would say go for it. I mean, I was told good advice when I was a kid, and basically it's if you can see yourself doing anything else, then don't be an actor. Like honestly, if you can see yourself,
do it if you want to do it.
Well, do it. Yeah, do it if you really can't.
Yeah.
Do anything. I'm not that you can't do anything else, but if you really can't see yourself do anything else,
exactly.
And only act if you can say, you know what, I can't see myself doing anything else but acting, then try to become an actor. Other than that, I always tell my kids, like, don't be an actor. It's a hard life. Like you're working from contract to contract and from paycheck to paycheck, and when you start a family, it's a challenge, because you want sustainability, and so it becomes difficult, but everyone thinks they can, but and they probably can for a while, but to sustain it over 30 years is pretty hard. So if you really want to become an actor, you have to want it. And remember, it's a business, right? It looks like a lot of fun, but rehearsing a play for 6 weeks and performing 10 times a week at the same time, juggling voice contracts and traveling and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty grueling, so you gotta really
wear you out,
you gotta really want it. But especially in the voice world, it's fun. It's a super fun job. You just gotta break through the walls and get yourself on an audition list and just keep on auditioning.
Yeah, there's some actors out there who only, who do it for like 6-7 years, and they say it's just not working for me anymore. Just want to move on, try something else. Yeah,
fair enough, and good on them. Like I have a lot of friends who I went to theater school with, and they graduated as professional actors, but never did a play and never did anything afterwards. And it's just you just gotta. It's basically it comes down to how much you want it.
Yeah. So we've talked, a lot about projects you've done over the years. Can you share any projects you're working on now?
I'm working on a cartoon. It's a great little cartoon called Half Heroes.
Nice.
Nice.
I don't know where it's going to play, but it's a great cartoon about a brother and sister who each have half powers, but the powers only work when they're together, and they work together, which is kind of a nice,
that's awesome.
Nice sentiment. And it's really fun. It's a fun cartoon because it's an actual cartoon that you can be cartoony.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of cartoons. They're like, no, we don't. I know it's a cartoon, but it's not cartoony. You're like, okay, but this one is actually cartoony. It's over the top. The animation is really, really big, and the reactions are big. So I love it. I love going into work because I can actually be cartoony, which is a lot of fun. and I just finished recently working on a one-person show called Every Brilliant Thing that I did at a theater here in Montreal. And it's a really great show about mental health and depression. And it's all me. And there's a lot of improv in it. And it's a really great show because I get to speak directly to the audience and use the audience as people in my life. And I get to bring them up on stage with me and play with them a little bit. And at the end of and every show is different because of the improv. So when people come in and see it, they're getting a very, very unique experience every time. And it's also unique for me. So I just finished working on that, which was great. And I'm hoping to kind of remount that some point in the near future. And other than that, man, I'm always constantly working on myself. That's an ongoing project.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
So what would you like to say to your fans and supporters of your work over the years?
And just thank you so much. All the it sounds cliche, but it never would have happened without everybody else.
Yeah.
And the amount of positive feedback I've gotten over the years and validation, it's not every project that you get a pat on the back for, and this has really stood the test of time, and I'm super, super proud of it. And for what the show has stood for and what it's meant for kids and adults, and seeing adults,
the future generation of kids too.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing adults who are in their 30s who have grown up with the show, and their eyes and their faces light up when they realize what you've given them as a gift over the years. It's amazing.
For example, if I watch Arthur over years, and then if I have a son, and then watch Arthur,
you watch us,
yeah, totally. It's really an amazing thing. So I just want to thank you to everybody who watches, and to you guys too. Keep your interest. It's
thank
it's
you.
great.
Thank you. What about you, Buster?
You have any words to say to your fans, Buster?
Yeah.
I have to say, over the years, it's been fun, but oh my God, is Arthur a really hard person to work with? You guys have no idea. When the cameras aren't rolling, that guy is a real pain in the beep. I'm just kidding. He's an awesome friend, and I love him.
Yes, we all love Arthur.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if people want to contact you, where can people find you?
Probably through my agent.
There you go.
Yeah, if you want anything, like I was telling DJ Bob too, if there's anything you want signed, you can send it, and I promise I won't steal it. I'll send it back.
Yeah, I will.
I'll check what the prices are on eBay first, and then I'll send it back.
I feel like I should say this. I'll let you know. There's people pretending to be you on Instagram.
What?
Oh my gosh!
Trust me.
There's people pretending to be all sorts of different people.
So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not really on Instagram, but I heard that my account may have been hacked a few months back. I think. Yeah, I think that happens.
Yeah. It's happened to me before. Definitely.
Yeah, me too.
I've had like identity theft happen to me. Someone stole my computer, or I don't know. And it's crazy. Yeah, because identity theft happened a few years ago, and so I had to go through that. Now I'm on a list. Like, I've been red flagged. So every time I phone the government or try to get something done governmental, I have to go through all the hoops to prove that it's me. And I'm like, I didn't identify theft myself. It was someone else trying. Like, why do I have to do all the work now? I have to answer all these questions. I have to send them photographs of my fingerprints. I don't know. It's
my God.
Jesus, man. But I think it's a sad inevitability of all this technology and stuff. It's going to happen for sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Jakey, end it off.
Yeah. So this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of, or how would you define nostalgia?
Nostalgia to me is something you look back on, I think,
sure,
and can feel happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard the term nostalgia used towards something negative. Can you have bad nostalgic? Can you have bad nostalgic memories? I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't think
That's
so.
a good question.
That's a good question.
So.
That's a good question. Someone tell us in the comments or in the live chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always dreamy, right? Like you're nostalgic about something because you either miss it or it made you like I had nostalgia the other day. I was working in my old neighborhood where I grew up, and I have there's this apartment building that when I was 12 years old, I had a bedroom window, and I opened my window and I dropped white paint out of my window at 12 years old. And I visited the area recently, and that same building, the same window, underneath the window is the white stain of paint that I dropped outside my window on the sidewalk.
Oh my God.
When I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And every time I drive by, I tell my kids that's where I lived when I was 12 years. That was my bedroom when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I dropped paint out the window, and it's still there.
Wow.
Still
Wow,
there.
that's amazing.
It's,
So
it's crazy to say, like, you know, how much we love Arthur and Buster and everyone, you know.
Yeah.
Us, you know.
yes,
It's crazy to say, like,
It's
okay.
insane.
I have a question for you, Daniel. What do
Yes.
you think that the show is like? It's known for being like the longest running children's show of all
one of
time.
them. Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
longest running
One of the longest
children's
running.
cartoons.
What do you think of that?
I think it's incredible. When it started getting into those numbers, I was like, that's insane. But you know, it
Like,
didn't.
there's no way it's gonna happen.
No, I
Yeah,
at the
there's-
beginning,
There
no,
you
yeah.
go.
At the beginning,
There you
there's no
go.
way I ever thought it would happen. But then when it did happen, I was like, but you know what? It was always quality. It never waned. You know, it never
went away.
really, according to the internet, it never really jumped the shark until I think the library card came around. I don't know. That's according to social media. I don't know, but it's never the writing. The writing has always been spectacular, you know. And the writing, even up until the last season, was so good
Yeah.
that it had no choice but to be popular for long. You know,
Yeah.
it had to live on because there was just so many stories to tell.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Thank you so
anyway,
much.
yes, thank you so much for
Thank you
being
so
a
much,
part of this.
Daniel,
This is a blast.
Yes,
You are worth it for
for
sure.
all of us.
Yes.
And Daniel. Oh yeah. Hey, Buster, do you have any last words?
I just want to say thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you all.
Yeah.
Happy
Yes.
nostalgia.
You too,
Oh,
Buster.
Yes.
happy
Oh,
nostalgia to you.
thank
Good
you.
luck to Buster.
I bet
Yes.
you
Bye,
thank you
guys.
so
Thanks
much
so much,
for-
eh?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for you being part of our childhoods and seeing with Buster, and
Can't wait to have you back on in the
thank you.
future.
Yeah,
thank you so much for what you do and for being a part of our lives, and
Yeah.
keep up your good
Yes.
work,
Yeah.
and can't wait what's next for you.
Hey, Jakey, how about you end it off? You haven't ended it off for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You end the episode
Yeah.
off.
I can do that. But anyway, thank you so much as always, Daniel, for being here, and from all of us, we want to thank you so much for watching this amazing episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Can't wait for more episodes to come for the rest of this year. And as always, stay
You are worth it.
nostalgic, and you're worth it. Take care, everyone. From all of us. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thanks so
everyone.
much. It was a
Bye.
pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you next time on another episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Be sure to follow us on social media and stream us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember that you are worth it and to always stay nostalgic. Bye-bye.